Good morning. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. That's Psalm 118:24. Today is Monday, March 22nd. The Jews were heavily influenced by their religious leaders who were corrupt, political, and fearful of losing power, position, and prestige. It's easy to see their excessive use of force in their arrest of Jesus. He was no threat, yet they were afraid. Jesus was the Lamb of God, slain from the foundation of the world. He is the sheep before the shearers. He would not offer any resistance. Let's read John 18, verses 12 through 18. Then the detachment of troops and the captain and the officers of the Jews arrested Jesus and bound him. And they led him away to Annas first. Now, Annas is older and probably plotted the arrest. He was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year. Now, it was Caiaphas to advise the Jews that it was expedient that one man should die for the people. Now, that was a prophecy about Jesus, and he would die for the sins of the world, but it also is telling the story that Jesus would die to calm opposition to formal religion. Verse 15, and Simon Peter followed Jesus, and so did another disciple. We know that's John. Now that disciple, John, was known to the high priest and went with Jesus into the courtyard of the high priest. But Peter stood at the door outside. Then the other disciple, who was known to the high priest, went out and spoke to her who kept the door and brought Peter in. Then the servant girl who kept the door said to Peter, "You are not also one of this man's disciples, are you?" He said, "I am not." Now the servants and officers who had made the fire of coals stood there, for it was cold, and they warmed themselves. And Peter stood with them and warmed himself. Let's try to make application here. First of all, fear and hatred always cause us to overreact and overrespond. Jesus purposely left the crowds of Jerusalem to go to the garden. Not only did he pray, but he presented himself to his captors with as little opposition as possible. When we overrespond, it's good to stop and think why we did that. Today we call these events triggers that activate hidden insecurity and fears. God uses these to expose sins and pains of the past. The Jewish leaders refused to submit to God, but continued to pursue fleshly and worldly gain. Secondly, John was a known follower of Jesus, but he was also known to the high priest. He was allowed to follow Jesus into the courtyard for his trial. Peter was brought in by John, but was soon so afraid and under conviction, he denied Christ 3 times. His fear caused his denials. Well, today is Monday, March 22nd. Love God, love people. Love never fails. Continue to pray as we march towards the crucifixion and resurrection.